Hello everyone, I'm your IELTS tutor Jack, and welcome back to another episode of the IELTS Plus English podcast. Okay, today's topic is change. So it's quite an interesting topic today. The reason it's interesting is you're not necessarily going to get many questions focused on change as a concept, but you will get a lot of questions asking how something has changed. This is, I think I've talked about it before actually in episode 3, how there are a lot of questions that talk about how things have changed. So in today's episode, I will go through all of the questions as normal, and I'm going to give you some good strategies later on in the podcast. Now, don't forget, you can download today's language bank, that's with 10 words and phrases related to change and the questions that I'm going to use today. You can download it from www.jacks-english.com, or if you are in Korea, you can access my Naver Cafe, Yongguk Yongo Jacks English. You can find everything there. So, as always, we will start with some part 1 to warm me up. And I will try to use as many of the vocabulary and expressions as I can. Number 1. Are you open to change? I think I am open to change. I actually embrace change. I've experienced a lot of changes in my life. I'm living in Korea now, so that's a big change. So I think I've become quite good at adapting to changes and adapting to new situations. So yes, overall I would say I am open to change. Good, short and sweet. Let's go to our second part 1 question. What changes do you plan to make in the future? I plan to make a very big change in the future, actually. I currently live in Korea, as I said, but I plan to move back to England, maybe in the next 5 years. So that's a huge change. Although England is my home country, my nation, it's probably going to feel fairly unfamiliar to me because I've been out of England for, by that time it will be 15 years. So that's going to be a huge change. Right, part 2. Now, as always, I've prepared the timer next to me. No preparation time, unfortunately. I'll go straight into a 2-minute answer. And the question is as follows. Describe a big change you experienced in your life. Okay, so 2 minutes is ready. I'm going to start now. I'm going to tell you about the huge change I experienced when I moved to Australia. Around 12 years ago, I was working as a golf tutor, a golf teacher, and although I was fairly happy, my life kind of felt stagnant. I was kind of going through a bit of a dip, and I wanted to make a fresh start. So at that time, I decided, let's do something, let's make a big change, and let's do something a bit crazy. So I decided to move to Australia. I think at that time, I had in mind that I would move there for a year. So that's what I did. Let me tell you a little more about this travel to Australia. So I very quickly moved to Australia from the time that I made that decision. And I actually arrived there with no plans at all. All I had was I booked the hotel. So I booked about 3 or 4 nights, and I had to decide everything from that point on. Not only where I would go, but also how I would make money, where I would live, who I would spend my time with. I went there by myself. So this was a huge change in my life. Of course, I'm British, and Australia has a bit of a different culture. So that was another thing that I had to adapt to. I really enjoyed that experience. It wasn't easy. I went through some difficulties, but overall, it was a real learning experience and changed me and made me become who I am today. So in the future, there you go, 2 minutes is up. So I didn't get it bang on today, but I didn't quite finish what I wanted to say. As you heard, I moved on to the future, which is how I always finish my answers. I just managed to finish my opinion. I'm not sure if that was, I suppose that was quite a good answer. I certainly managed to get quite a lot of vocabulary in there. I know I used make a fresh start, go through, fresh, adapt. So I got some good words and phrases in there. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that answer. And it was true. There was no lies in there. It was a true story. Let's do 1 or 2 part 3s and wrap today's episode up. Now, okay, before I answer this, as I'm seeing this question, it made me think about what I want to tell you, which is a strategy. When we talk about change, it's very common. For example, this question, how has your hometown changed in recent years? The question is, how has something changed in a period? What I recommend to you, IELTS students, or even just in general conversation, is start by saying what the change is. Then say how it was before. Finally, say how it is now. So, what is the change? What was it like before? How is it now? Of course, the grammar is important. You're going to have present perfect, the change, past simple, before, present simple or present continuous, now. Let me show you how you do this. So, how has your hometown changed in recent years? My hometown has developed a lot in recent years. It used to be a very quiet town. There were a lot of parks. It's near the beach, so there was a lot of nature. Also, you could feel that it wasn't a high population. When you walked through the streets, there weren't that many people. It was just a really nice, quiet town. However, nowadays, as I said, it has developed a lot. So nowadays, it's busy. The buildings have changed. The parks have disappeared. It's really become quite a developed, almost a city, it feels like, which is not what I personally like. So that's how my hometown has changed. It's developed a lot in recent years. Okay, hopefully you could hear that. The change developed. In the past, it was a quiet, small town. Now it's almost like a bustling city. Right, one more and then I will wrap up. Listen again for that strategy, same thing again. So my next question is, how are the eating habits now in your country different from eating habits in the past? Kind of an awkward question, but so we're comparing eating habits in England in the past versus now. I think people have started eating a lot more instant food in England. In the past, we spent a lot more time with our family and a lot less time working. So at that time, there was a lot more cooking happening, using fresh ingredients, going to the supermarket, buying your ingredients. Nowadays, there seems to be a real lack of time, and one kind of solution to that is we can buy instant meals. In England, there's a huge amount of diversity in the types of meals you can get. So these instant meals, so that's a wonderful solution. A lot of people are taking that solution. Of course, the problem is it's unhealthy. You don't get the right kind of vitamins and minerals. So overall, it is a negative change. Okay, that's all I'm going to leave you with today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. The focus was change, and I really hope you take my advice about the strategy for talking about change, because it comes up a lot in the IELTS exam. As I said to you before, please check out www.jax-english.com. for my free handout. And also there's lots of nice things on there. There's nice free materials for you to learn. And there will be a lot more episodes coming up. So thanks again for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week and see you very soon. Bye-bye.